intense. Good afternoon, everyone. And fun.
We are raising our guidance.
Great success, success, success. Great success, success, success means great profit, great profit, great profit. Mediocre success still means profit. Good afternoon, everyone. Still means profit. Still means. Good afternoon, everyone. Profit.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Live TV Ratings Talk. I'm Brandon Thurston, broadcasting live from Buffalo, New York, where today it's November 11th, 2021, and let me get myself a little bit more in the picture there. We're going to talk about Raw TV ratings, Dynamite TV ratings, NXT. I think those are the three main focuses today. And I take your questions. Feel free to put your questions in the chat. Since it's Thursday, as always, as we're now in our usual time slot here, we were preempted by the WWE earnings report last week. But back in our normal time slot, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, live both on the East Coast and the West Coast, live around the world. There's no West Coast feed here. But we can look at the big scoreboard and see the big three, I guess we could say at this point: SmackDown, Raw, and AEW Dynamite. SmackDown doing just over 2 million viewers this week. I guess we'll talk about SmackDown. I'll write that down on my post-it note too. SmackDown we can talk about a bit as well, doing just over 2 million viewers on the low end for what they've been doing lately. Raw doing 1.5 million viewers, 1.55 million viewers, a 0.40 for a demo rating. And Dynamite, we've just learned within the last 90 minutes or so, 913,000 viewers, a 0.34 in the demo. So Raw, as we'll talk about, collapsing in the third hour, dragging its rating down. But nonetheless, Dynamite not quite able to catch Raw, missing by 6 demo points and just under 100,000 viewers. If we look at that, we can look at this slide right here that shows all of the deltas, all the differences by percentage. Dynamite did catch Raw with men aged 18 to 34 by 2%, which I know off the top of my head because I just wrote the report, comes out to 2,000 viewers. Raw among men 18 to 34 this week, this past Monday, did 100,000 viewers, 100,000. Dynamite doing 102,000. So there's that. Dynamite also edged out Raw in the Showbuzz Daily demo rating of M12 to 34. So if you include teenage boys in that, Dynamite did have the edge there as well, by a slight margin. When we're talking about a few percent here, that's a virtual tie, I would say, because we're dealing with, of course, a Nielsen sample and not actual true-to-life data. But this is the data, of course, that the industry and advertisers and television people have relied on for decades. So, let's see here. AEW Dynamite in the green line here in the most recent year of 2021, doing well above what it was doing in 2020 when it was still going head-to-head with NXT. And in some cases, not this week in a year-over-year comparison, but in some cases doing better than it was doing in its very first year in 2019. A time when, of course, it was going against NXT as well. some pretty strong viewership at the beginning of the Dynamite run. That's both in terms of total viewership. We see something similar in the key demo of 18 to 49 in this graph over here. What did NXT do this week as I jump around? 603,000 viewers. That was on the low end for NXT. The lowest in the 2.0 era. But more by 4,000 viewers than Rampage on Friday night. Of course, Rampage doing substantially better in the demo, a 0.22 rating in the demo, a 0.15 for NXT in the demo. So let's look at the quarters for Dynamite, since that's the freshest news here. And usually I don't have them this early, but today I do. The quarter hours for last night's AEW Dynamite quarters peaked with the 8:45 to 9 o'clock quarter. That's quarter 4. What was in that quarter? Most of the Anthony Bowens and Jungle Boy match, which went through a picture-in-picture ad break, a video package for the Kenny Omega and Hangman Page pay-per-view match, a promo where the Elite, consisting of Adam Cole and the Young Bucks, are talking with Bobby Fish, and the CM Punk and Eddie Kingston video package promoting their pay-per-view. Not the angle that happened a bit later, but the video package. That was the height of viewership, both in the demo and in total viewership, peaking in a 15-minute average at 964,000, 478,000. As people may know who've been following my charts here, I've been putting this dotted line here that shows you a composite trend. I think I'm taking a median here of the last 4 weeks and saying, okay, from quarter to quarter, what is the usual growth and loss pattern? And what we see here is that the main event segment, I guess this quarter 4 segment that was the peak, is above the dotted line. It is above the normal trend. But the main event really is, at least in total viewership, even more strongly above the dotted line. 956,000 viewers is the average for the final 15 minutes, which largely includes the contract signing for the big title match between Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page in the demo that did a 463. If we want to look at, what does that mean in terms of a demo rating, because I think people are a bit more familiar with the demo rating for that. So if we take 463 and divide that by 1305, that would be a 0.35 demo rating. So still below what Raw averaged throughout its 3 hours, but Raw in the third hour, which we'll talk about in a moment, where viewership was a lot lower, did a 0.34. So this is a little bit higher than the third hour. These 15 minutes is a little bit higher than the third hour of Raw. And the demo rating, by the way, I know Showbiz Daily has got the demo rating at 3.5. I've got it at 3.4. Nielsen data, depending on when you look at it, I understand can be slightly different. Again, this demo rating is based on a percent. What a rating is. This is a national rating. What a national rating is a percentage of the total population that was actually watching. So what 0.34 in the demo means is that 0.34% of the U.S. population aged 18 to 49 was watching Dynamite. So they might have a slightly different, they might have something like 552,000 viewers or something like that. That might, I don't know if it does. If I grab the calculator real quick and divide that by 1305, that does round up. Say they were just 2,000 higher, that does round up to 0.35. In fact, if I had 0.51, does that rounds up to 0.35 because that's 0.345. But 450 divided by 1305 rounds to 0.34 because it's 0.344. So Showbiz probably has a slightly higher by like 1 or 2,000 count for 18 to 49. Anyway, there's that. Let's go back to the quarters. What was the peak? As we just do calculator math. This is what everybody's tuned in here on YouTube for, right? Is if I take the peak, 1305, this quarter averaged a 0.3, you could round up and say 0.37, 0.366 for that peak quarter in Q4. Largely, again, consisting of the Anthony Bowens and Jungle Boy match and a couple of video packages and a promo with the Elite and Bobby Fish. So that's the granularity there. We've got some people watching. Hopefully all of our technical issues are good. If not, let me know in the chat. If you have any questions, let me know in the chat. But let's see here. So if we go to... We just look at some of the deltas here, too, on the quarters. I almost never get to talk about the quarters with any urgency here on Live TV Ratings Talk, because the quarters... Usually I'll get the quarters later in the night. And by the time I do Live TV Ratings Talk again, they're pretty old news. But you can see a lot of strong growth here. The most growth, sequentially, was for the final quarter, which is not... it's usually not this much growth, I think, to this degree. We got up 9% total viewership, up 10% in the key demo of 1849 in that final 15 minutes. Outside the demo, up 8%. Compare that to the peak quarter, Q4, which was up 5% across the board, both in and outside the demo. So there's that. I don't know that there are any other real strong takeaways to take here from quarters. I always warn against making very strong conclusions about quarters, despite the desire to know who's a draw. It's sort of like a group project in school, and if I put 5 or 10 of you in a given 15 minutes and said this is your group project, and I give you a grade, and then I assess your personal value based on your group project grade, something like that. And by the way, there's going to be all this competition that's going to subtract perhaps from your grade that has basically nothing to do with you. So anyway, that's Dynamite. Now Raw. Let's look at a trend for Raw here. Raw, let's look at the total viewership for Raw over the last year compared to the prior years. This week's Raw, down substantially from last year at the same time. Of course, last year at the same time is the Thunderdome era. This is the live fans era. So we would expect generally TV viewership to be down from year to year. But we're seeing the NFL football putting up some pretty strong numbers compared to last year, is my understanding. We could look at that data here as far as Monday Night Football. Maybe we will in a minute. But Raw down from last year. Last week it was pretty much the same as last year. That's in total viewership. In the demo, it's similar, maybe a little bit stronger of a difference. But what happened in that third hour? We can look at this here. These are the quarters. This is the hourly comparisons here, where we're looking at a 1.65 million viewers for hour 1, 1.62 in hour 2, and then something happens in hour 3 where it falls to 1.7, 1.8 million viewers. I think the Showbuzz numbers might be slightly different from that. So what happened, and we can see in the quarters here, I've got a line chart for this too, but if we look at this table, we can see the show almost opens at 1.7 with 1.695 million viewers for the live promo with Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens, this RK Bro and Street Profits backstage promo. But the show holds up fairly well from 8 to 9:30. We're in the 1.6 million range here for the most part. Second quarter's down a little bit, under 1.6. But after that, it grows back up. We're above 1.6 million viewers for all of this long 8-man tag between RK Bro, the Street Profits versus AJ Styles Omos, the Dirty Dogs. This long 8-man tag match. The angle with Adam Pearce and Bobby Lashley, MVP, Rey Mysterio and Dominic, which leads to the Bobby Lashley and Dominic match. We're still at about 1.65 million viewers. The match between Lashley and Dominic goes into the next quarter. And then there's some backstage stuff with Rollins, Chad Gable, and Otis, which leads to a Big E versus Chad Gable match. Still doing okay, 1.6 million viewers. There's a 24/7 title segment. Then viewership starts to drop a little bit. We're under 1.6 million viewers at 1.587. Viewership is stable through the next quarter for this 5-way match involving Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Doudrop, Zelina Vega, Rhea Ripley, and Carmella. There's a backstage segment with Seth Rollins and Big E. And then for this live promo involving Big E, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, and Austin Theory, that's from at 10:15 Eastern. That's where viewership really starts to drop, and it goes under 1.4 million viewers. And these last two quarters are under 1.3 million viewers. The final quarter ending with 1.27 million viewers for the Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins match. I can break this down by demo, where we look at what did the first hour do and what did the third hour do, and the greatest drops. The greatest drop is with the female viewership, the women, 18 to 34. That's the smallest. It's probably the smallest of these demos, though. There are declines across the board. Everything from total viewership, the demo was down 21%. Total viewership down 17%. Male viewers in the demo down 15%. Women in the demo down 30%. It's pretty consistent across the board. Older viewers, which is most of what's outside the demo, down 15%. And it's not as if, let's see, look at the competition. I know Raw's going against Monday Night Football. It's one of the biggest TV shows in all of television, but that's been the case. We're now in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think we're in week 7 or 8 of the NFL season. This was not a really abnormal night of TV viewing, at least among cable originals and broadcast prime time here. This wasn't a really peak night of competition by this measurement, which is almost all of TV. It doesn't include reruns. I imagine reruns are pretty consistent over time, though. So there's that. Was this an exceptional decrease in third hour viewership? It was. So this is the distribution chart of what's normal for the third hour drop. This is comparing the first hour against the third hour. And what usually happens is viewership falls by somewhere between, 12% or 13% to 4%. So it's a 4% to 13% drop. And again, this was in total, that is total viewership that we're talking about there. This is the entire history of the 3-hour Raw. So again, losing 4 to 14% of the audience. And this was 17%. So this was on the high end. I believe this is the most, it's in my report. I think the demo decline was the most since April 2020. And the total viewership decline, I think, was the most since this year, June. So there's that. And it's not as if people were tuning into the football game. Instead, it's not as if there was strong growth in the football game. We have a trend of what the minute-by-minute viewership was for Raw here and for Monday Night Football. This is approximate. This is not the actual data, but something that I plotted based on something that was shared with me about what the minute-by-minute trend was. But suffice to say, this is very strongly correlated with what I believe to be reality. Viewership declines here in halftime for the Monday Night Football game on ESPN. And by the way, there was no Manning cast on ESPN2 this week. It was all on ESPN. And in this time here, in the last 45 minutes or so of Raw, where viewership really declined strongly for Raw, it's not as if we see a corresponding increase in viewership for Monday Night Football. So it's not as if, I think it was the Steelers and the Bears, it's not as if the Steelers and Bears game suddenly became much more exciting. At least the viewership doesn't suggest that. Viewership looks pretty normal for the Monday Night Football game during the time that viewership falls for Raw. So we're eliminating, what I'm saying there, I guess, is we're eliminating some external factors here. Competition wasn't especially great relative to what it's usually been on Monday in the last few weeks. There wasn't a granular increase in at least Monday Night Football viewership. If we look at my big template, what else was on TV that night? Was there something at 10 o'clock that came on that maybe people gravitated to? The strongest program that has a 10 o'clock start time is NCIS Hawaii. I don't know. Which only did a little bit better than Raw. It wasn't this giant program. We do have Below Deck that started at 10. That does have strong female viewership. Maybe it was Below Deck. Although, if we go back to the quarter hours, let's see. If we go to the, I don't have my line chart in here, do I? Well, if we go back to the quarter hours, we can see even through, even through the first 15 minutes of the 10 o'clock hour, viewership hasn't collapsed just yet. It's the 15-minute mark and forward, the last 45 minutes where it really collapses. Maybe Below Deck is a factor, but hard to say. This might be one of the times where we can say, well, maybe it was the content, maybe it was what was put on the screen, maybe people aren't that interested in what was here, this Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins angle and match. So there's that. I do. So don't I have a line chart just for fun? Maybe I don't. No, what we do have. So instead of a line chart, I see what I've done here is I've done a bar chart. Because Raw is 3 hours, it's hard to fit into a line chart. So we have to resort to a bar chart. So there's the view for the demo. Oh, I'm sorry. That is total viewership. This is the demo. So what did the demo do over this time? The demo is pretty consistent with what total viewership did, falling under 500,000 in these last 45 minutes, falling just under 400,000 for that final 15 minutes, which is pretty similar. We can flip back and forth here between what happened in the blue for total viewership and what happened in the green here for the demo, where it's the middle 30 minutes of the 10 o'clock hour. There's some substantial loss, and I guess it's even stronger here. I don't know. Maybe total viewership does hold up a little bit better. And can we see that here? We can see deltas here, showing that actually outside the demo for the last 15 minutes, there was a 1% growth, while there was a 7% loss inside the demo. So the last 15 minutes, the demo continued to fall, while everything outside the demo actually slightly grew. But total viewership falling too in the 10:15 to 10:30 segment, the 10:30 to 10:45 segment, down 13% outside the demo, down 4% outside the demo. Meanwhile, in the demo, down 11%, down 9%. There's me reciting numbers. So there's that. We can talk about NXT real quick, and we'll do a quick look at Smackdown. Then I'll try to address some questions that are happening in the chat. So NXT again did 603,000 viewers, 1.5 in the demo. This was the lowest NXT, the 2.0 era, for not for the demo but for total viewership. NXT again, the big headline takeaway from NXT is that while you've got Dynamite that's clearly benefiting from the lack of NXT head to head, and maybe it's benefiting from some other things including new talent, but NXT is not doing that well despite not having to go against another wrestling program, both in total viewership and the key demo. There's that. War Games, NXT War Games is coming up. I've been told the TakeOver name is not going to be used going forward. As you may have noticed, the War Games advertising, the graphic, only contains the NXT logo, and the text War Games does not contain TakeOver. The TakeOver era seemingly is being left behind in the old, bygone days of the Triple H Wolfenstein era of NXT. If we look at, I know we were talking about in relation to NXT, the median age is still in the high 50s, sometimes even in the 60s. But if we look, I think we have to go to the spreadsheet for this, which you can get access to at patreon.com/Wrestlenomics for just $5 a month. You get access to all of my TV reports almost daily. You get access to all of this data. But if we look at these year-over-year comparisons that I've made here, let me make sure that you can see this. We'll make this bigger. We look at now we know if we look at NXT, it's down slightly. You can see in these spark lines, these little column charts that I've got here. The last couple months, including this month, NXT is down slightly in viewership from last year. This is month by month. The demo been down a little bit in consecutive months compared to the same month of the prior year. But if we look at the younger half of the demo, so far, and I think we're 2 episodes, right? There's been 2 Wednesdays, yes. There's been 2 Wednesdays in November already, the 2nd and the 9th. And we're up 36% in the younger half of the demo. And we know that it's NXT's stated goal to capture a younger audience with this newer, hipper, more colorful NXT. So I can't, even though the median age viewership is very high, it's among the highest in wrestling, I can't totally say that it's failing to meet its goals here. When there's look at this big jump in November at least for the younger half of the demo. Now we need more data. Maybe just the P18 to 34 is a little bit volatile, so it's more prone to be all over the place. So we'll see what happens in weeks to come and months to come if there continue to be positive comparisons on a year-over-year basis for NXT with the young adults, 18 to 34. There's that. SmackDown. If we look at my analysis tab, SmackDown did its lowest rating. It is the lowest total viewership, excluding the FS1 preemptions. Did its lowest viewership on Fox since August 13th. Did its lowest demo rating in just over a month since October 8th. So total viewership down quite a bit for SmackDown. These deltas that I have set up are kind of messed up because they're roping in FS1. So SmackDown doing a lower rating than it usually does. We'll see what it does tomorrow. We'll get an idea Saturday morning-ish with a fast affiliate that's usually pretty reliable in predicting what the final viewership is going to be. There's that. I think that's it. We'll go to some questions. If you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We do have one question. Let's see here. This is from Ryoga. Would 913,000 viewers be considered low by AEW TNT standards? Oh. I doubt it. So, we look at, I don't have November ready yet because we're less than halfway through the month. I guess I haven't set that up yet. But if we look at, look at the entire month of October, pretty good chunk of time. We exclude, so this will include basketball since it is October. If we look at Turner Network Television, TNT as some people call it, and we look at just the TNT ratings for Turner Network Television, if we wait for the spreadsheet to do its magic. So this is everything for TNT that made Showbuzz Daily's top 150 cable originals. So this wouldn't include any reruns, no movies or anything like that. So I can't tell you what the reruns, what the airings of movies do on TNT. But among the original programming, which is more expensive because it's original, it's not just something that they own the rights to that they're airing. Well, it's not a movie that they're probably not paying as much for compared to NBA, NHL, AEW. And this is sorted, I don't know what this is sorted by, but let's sort it by 18 to 49. Sort it from largest to smallest. And today's rating again did 913,000, did a .34 rating in the demo. And so that means it would fall right about here for TNT, compared to everything that happened again in October. So it would end up ranking the 10th best program for the month of October. Out of how many do we have here? Let's see how many programs we're looking at. We've got 42 programs that ended up making the daily top 150 programs. Last night's Dynamite would have been the 10th best cable original out of 42 if it had happened in October. So I would say no, this is not considered low. If we talk about total viewership, even if we talk about total viewership, it would end up falling in a similar place. It would end up being 11th. It would end up being number 11 out of all of TNT's originals in October. So there's that. I've been waiting for this question. Corey asks, do you think daylight savings time affected the third hour of Raw? Who put that idea in your head? I have some suspicions. So this was raised to me by someone today earlier. Let's see here. And I did. Let's see here. So if we look at what are the daylight savings days, we'll do this all from scratch here. This is going to take a little bit of time, so fasten your seatbelts. We've been doing this for 32 minutes. Maybe we'll end on this question. So if I pull up the Wikipedia page for daylight savings, it's only giving us going back to 2015. Obviously, daylight savings has been around a lot longer than that. But so I'm going to put this on my other monitor so that I can see it. And we're going to pull out let's go to my Raw history. Raw by hour? Yeah. Oh, actually, I have it sorted out. So this is kind of what I want. And let's see, make sure you can see this. Let's do it. Let's do that view? No, this view. Okay. Let's make this real big. It's hard to see. So this. I think you can see this. We'll make my picture a little bit smaller here so you can see what's happening here. We all know it's on Monday. We don't need to see that, right? So let's this is every hour. There's a row here for every hour of Raw. It doesn't matter which hour we look at because it's the same over here on the right. Let's just look at for the 10 o'clock hour. Again, these cells right here are the same for all 3 hours just because they're asking the question, what was the difference of viewership from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock for this episode of Raw? And what we're looking at is, we do need the date here. What we're looking at, let's just, demos go away since those aren't that important, what we're asking right now. So, and probably make this 200%, a little bit bigger. So, what we're looking at here is the episode of Raw that happened immediately after daylight savings. And what we find, so this is for 2015 to the present. So these are how many episodes? Raw? 7. We have 7 examples of the first Raw after daylight savings. And what we see is that in total viewership, let's talk about total viewership first. Deltas are down 6%, 18%, 10%, 17%, 21%, 18%, 17%. Well, what does it typically do? As we discussed a moment ago, and as I think I have to show here, let's look at it. I know I have it on the presentation here. What does it usually do in total viewership? Somewhere between, I don't know, down 4%, down 14%. 4 to 14 is the usual loss. But this 4 to 14 is what's normal. And we've got this one, 6%, that's pretty normal in 2015. But all these other ones are more aggressive than normal. 18, 10 is normal, actually. So we got 2 out of the 7 seem to be within the normal range. But we do have 5 that are steeper in losses of viewers than normal. Maybe there's something to this. What I would really like to do is look at the next couple episodes and see if those suddenly recovered. Is that something we can do here without taking up too much time? Let's see here. If I look at 11, so the 9th, 2015, add that to our thing here. Let's look at the one after that, 11/16, 2015. Let's add that one in. Should be elevator music playing right now. 2000. So the 16th and 16. 16 plus 7 is 23. So the 23rd. No. Hang on. That is the 5th. Okay. So the 7th. We want the 14th in 16. And we want the 21st in 16. And then for 17, the Daylight Savings episode was the 6th. So we want 13th. And we want the 20th. Oh dear. Okay, the 20th. There we go. And in 2018, it was the 5th. So we want the 12th. And 19th. And then in 2019, it was the 4th. So we want the 11th. And the 18th. Okay, and for last year, it was the 2nd. So we want the 9th. And the 16th. And for this year, we don't have the future yet. We're only in the present. It's only the 11th in reality, in our actual timeline. So, let's see here. Let's do some formatting so some of this stuff stands out, right? Let's bold the first one. The one that it is immediately after Daylight Savings. So we can really distinguish this by eye. Okay, so these in bold are the first episodes of Raw after Daylight Savings. So, in the case of 2015, it's the next weeks that had the steeper decline. Down 18%, down 14%. Down 8% and down 8%. But both of those declines are worse than the first episode of Raw after Daylight Savings. So, in that example, no. That does not support the idea that Daylight Savings is having a real effect on Raw. But let's look at 2016. Down 18% and total, and down 19% in the demo. The next weeks are not as bad. Down 7, down 12. In the demo, down 5, down 13. So, if we're keeping score here, 1 point for no, it doesn't matter. 1 point for yes, it does matter. So now, the next episode, the next year, 2017, down 10 and down 4. It's worse, both in the demo and in P2+. Another vote for yes. How about 2018? It's down 17% total, down 18% in the demo. And it's down worse the next week, down the same 2 weeks after. And it's a little bit better in the demo, but not that far off. First week it's down 18, then 15 and 14. So a pretty middling answer. A slight no, I would say. So it's 2-2. 2 for no, 2 for yes, it does matter. 2019. It's down 21%, down 22%. And then the next week it's down 26%, worse. But then it's down only 14%. The demo, though, down worse. 31%, down 17%. So another slight no. Unless you're going to make the argument that, it matters for a while after. It takes a while to resolve. The Daylight Savings effect does. It takes a while to resolve. I had someone describe to me what exactly the argument that was being made by Dave, as far as what's the psychological or habitual reason why this happens, and I didn't really understand, so I'm not going to try to re-explain it. But we got one more year to go. The score right now is 3 no, 2 yes. Let's look at 2020. Down 18% the following week, very similar. The next week better, though. And then 14% for the first week down. The next week a little bit worse, 16, 9, and 9. So I would again say a slight no. Unless you're going to make the argument that it takes a while to resolve. See that being the argument. Maybe you would want to look at the weeks before then. Should we do that? Should we look at the weeks before? Maybe. Because that would eliminate the issue. So, let's get rid of those. Let's get rid of that. This is what happens when you do Wrestlenomics. You're like, oh, you think you've done what you need to do to have the answer. But no, you don't. You don't have the answer. More research is needed. So let's resort this. Here's just the immediate first episodes after daylight savings. And this is hard. You can't simply do the math now. The October, so let's see here. October, the last two, 15. The last two Raws in October were the 19th and the 26th. And if we go to 2016, we are looking at 24th and the 31st. We're looking at 2017, looking in October for the 23rd and the 30th. And then in 2018, we are looking at the 22nd and the 29th. In 2019, we need to look at 21st and the 28th. And 2020, we need to look at the 19th and the 26th. And for this year, we look at the 25th and the 1st. So we did have one episode in November before daylight savings. I don't know if I'm actually saying that right. Are we now in daylight savings, or are we now no longer in daylight savings? I don't know, but we all know what we're talking about here. That's not that important. We know the time changed, and that's what's being argued here is having an effect. So, all right. Oh no, I got rid of all the dates though. We do need. Why did that happen? We do need, if I look at my daylight savings thing again here, we need November 1st, 2015. Nope. Where did that go? In 2015, it's... Oh, because, okay, it's the 2nd. Okay. That's when I'm looking at when daylight savings goes into effect and not when it actually, the date of the Raw that we need. Okay, those two. And we need the 7th in 16. We need the 6th, 17. We need the 5th in 18. We need the 4th in 19. We need the 2nd in 2020, which I think we already have. Let's make sure, yes. And we need the most recent episode, which is the 8th. Okay, so now we have... Okay, let's tally it up again. So, what we should see here, if daylight savings really does have a negative effect on Raw's viewership, then, and somehow it affects the 3rd hour, then we should see viewership holding up better before daylight savings and worse in the first episode after daylight savings. So, We see it in 2015 holding up worse. So that's a no. We're going to deal with 7 examples here. That's 1 no vote. In 2016, we see it holding up better. In the 2 weeks prior, that's a yes. In 17, it's holding up worse, both total and in the demo, than in the first week of daylight savings. That's a no. 17. For 18, the first week holds up better. The second week in total viewership doesn't. It holds up very similarly and a little bit better, but not that much better. Down 15% versus 18%. So that's, I don't know, that's what I would consider a slight no. 2019 does hold up better by a bit. So let's say yes. In 2020, down 6, down 15, 2 down 13 versus these numbers here, 18 and 14. Yeah, I think we can say that yes, that's holding up better. And then this year, down 9 and 4, down 4 and 4. That's definitely a yes. So, I'm sorry, I like these opposite happen. I think we have a slight yes here. I think I've written my tallies down incorrectly, but I think we have a slight yes here when looking at the weeks before, right? Because we have we have a no for 15, have a yes for 16, we have a no for 17, we have a slight yes for 18. I don't know. We have a middle case maybe for 18. We have a yes for 19. We have a yes for 20. And we have a yes for 21. So I think that's something like 5-2. We have data here to support Dave's argument here. That maybe it does. Maybe it does. There's that. I mean, we've exploded the viewership here in the minute-by-minute numbers for this very, very rote, meticulous analysis of WWE Monday Night Raw viewership. Ori also asks, how much do you think the change from 8 p.m. to 5 p.m. live on the West Coast affects the numbers for Dynamite? I think it has a slight, or maybe slightly more than slight effect on Dynamite. Maybe if not for that factor, we might be seeing Dynamite doing just over 1 million viewers. I think it does have an effect. If I were AEW, I would be a little bit frustrated because I'm doing better numbers, AEW is, than the NHL is, but I'm being negatively impacted by the NHL, which isn't doing as good viewership as I'm doing. So I would be a little bit unhappy about that, but it's better than not being on TV, or it's better than being preempted, certainly. So AEW can't really be too picky about it. This will we'll see what happens when they move to TBS. I think the viewership will move just fine over to TBS, and then AEW might be in a better position to do better viewership. That's in January. So I think that's all for today. Do I have UK numbers for AEW? Those are Corey Gibson keeps track of that stuff. It's not something that I spend much time looking at, but we do have a spreadsheet for that. This one is publicly accessible. Fact. Here, this is publicly accessible, isn't it? Yeah. Anybody can look at this, in fact. I dropped the link into the chat there. So, is this up to date? Or even keeping it up to date? Yeah, I just updated it 6 days ago. So, I think I made a pivot table for this. Is there a chart for this? There is. Here's the chart. looks like there's very few Raw points. Again, this is something I never look at. I've looked at like twice ever. We see here Dynamite in the gray. And I don't know if this is the only airing for Raw. I know WWE airs on BT Sport, and it also airs on Channel 5. So I don't know if this is the biggest Raw or WWE audience that there is to measure. And we obviously have scant numbers here for Raw in the red. We have more numbers for SmackDown. So I don't... Why this says Raw twice. This is probably SmackDown, right? Probably because I manually entered heading. Correct? Not really sure what we're... Revert to the default. Is that Raw? Maybe that is Raw. Maybe this is SmackDown. I don't know. This is NXT UK, apparently. This is NXT. Well, then what is this? That's NXT also. Not real sure what we're looking at. In that event, I'll try to sort this data out. If you look in the spreadsheet, maybe it'll be correct later. But I don't think there's any question though that we got whatever we're looking at here. Dynamite does the best out of these programs. Again, I'm not sure that we're looking at the widest reach broadcast that WWE has though. Maybe we're not. But anyway, that's all for tonight, and I think I have some plugs. If you think this is a decent analysis of ratings, other than the UK analysis, of course, you can hit like, share these videos, hit subscribe. I do this every Thursday evening in US time, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, in all these other times around the world. And you can listen to the Wrestlenomics Radio weekly podcast in your favorite podcast app. Now a part of the Post Wrestling universe. You can also listen to it on the Post Wrestling podcast feed just as well. You can sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/Wrestlenomics. You get access to the TV ratings reports that I do nearly every weekday. You get access to the Wrestlenomics viewership spreadsheet, which we spent some time looking at tonight. Plus, occasionally I drop in other stuff, like today we've got the audio for the Tony Khan media conference call. We've got quarter hours in there for Raw and Dynamite. You can look at that stuff for yourself. You can follow me on Twitter at Brandon Thurston and at Wrestlenomics. I will talk to everybody this weekend, this Sunday for the podcast, and next Thursday, same place, same YouTube channel. Bye.